Welcome to Hack Talks, brought to you by the NetWitness Incident Response Team, your weekly dive into the hottest picks, the strangest twists, and the you couldn't make this up moments in global cybersecurity. My name's Gordon Dixon, your host based in Glasgow, Scotland, and I'm joined as always by Stefano Macalia, the director based in Rome, Italy. Ciao, Stefano.
Hi, guys. Just to make it clear, Italian baseball team made a very fantastic journey into the Baseball World Cup. Thank you.
Congratulations. And James Sobel, Senior Manager in Merritt Island, Florida. Hi, James.
Hey, guys. Good to be here. Way to go, Team Italia. Good job, guys.
We're glory hunting already. So this week is our 10th episode, so we're going to do something different, and we're going to count down the top 10 epic fails of the last 18 months. And so to kick us off, Stefano, what's the first story you'd like to bring to us today?
Thank you, Gordon. Well, the first one is surely the Cisco wishing that got into the CRM. In July 2025, an attacker voice phished a Cisco representatives and got straight into the third-party cloud CRM tied to Cisco.com accounts and exported user profiles like names, organization, contact details, and so on at scale. And no password or internal source code was touched, but a beautiful data set of following on phishing, impersonation, and account takeover went fallen into the hands of the attacker. In a Douglas Adams spin, it wasn't a 0 day in the firewall this time. It was a 0 day in, hi, this is support. Can you just confirm your login for me? Thank you.
That's almost a red team masterpiece, Stefano, right?
Yeah. We are used to do this, but not at this scale, unfortunately.
No, what a great hack. And I betcha as we talk about epic fails, to me there's a theme that's ringing in my ear, which is no crazy Hollywood 0 day required, just somebody on the phone imitating somebody else, just doing their best, and human to human, and there's the fail.
Fantastic. It's good to know that the old ones are still the best. So the next epic fail is from James. What do you have for us?
Well, let's go to the cloud. It's okay for us to use the C word on Hack Talks, and that's cloud for us. And this one is, a cloud vendor, a cloud name that everybody's heard of. It's Salesforce. And the fail here is in both Salesforce and their customers, because the attack here happening in 25 is a breach of a third party used by Salesforce, something called SalesLoft Drift, where Scattered Lapsus hunters actually were able to grab authentication and tokens related to an API that gave them access to the Salesforce data of Salesforce customers. And and the customers involved here are companies like Google, Cloudflare, LinkedIn, DocuSign, GitHub. I could probably keep going, right? Yeah. This isn't great. And you think, well, Salesforce data, who cares? But it's CRM, so there's customers' passwords in here. There's all kinds of data about these organizations' customers. So the fail, you've got security companies and infrastructure companies not looking at this third-party kind of backdoor into their customer data. And of course, the Salesforce guys not thinking about protecting that API. Stefano, what do you think?
Well, this is a typical password security 101, because in some cases we recorded that the leak of this data followed immediately with an attempt to access customers' environments, leveraging on the passwords and credentials stolen from that particular, let's say, collection of data. So that is obviously a very big risk if you are typically reusing the passwords that you, let's say, apply for different services on your infrastructure, or if for your users. So the good thing was that it was pinpointed and the leak was released, and the people went updating the password. But unfortunately, in some cases, that was too late. So again, this is Password 101. Please don't reuse your passwords in different websites or different services, because that is surely one of the weakest point of your infrastructure at the moment.
So, Stefano, you're next with the countdown, but I feel before we start, as I fidget uneasily in my chair before we talk about this topic, that I should probably say that a parental advisory warning maybe goes up in the corner of the screen, because we're going to talk about a breach at a particular organization, aren't we, Stefano?
Yeah, parental and wife. Be aware of. Well, in Pornhub in 2025, despite it was a good year in terms of results, as far as I know, but there was this smishing attack against the analytic provider Mixpanel that led a breach of historical analytic data of Pornhub, and more in general, the premium accounts into the Pornhub. So people that paid for that. And Shiny Hunters claim that they exfiltrated roughly 94 gigabytes and more than 200 million accounts of Pornhub premium users. Okay, yeah, the good news is that these accounts, credit cards, were fine. But like they said, we are only lost a multi-year diary of everything you ever watched. So this wasn't much about hacking a porn site or as hacking the universe's most embarrassing analytic lake. And this is the scale of this breach. Guys, what you think about it?
Yikes.
Yes.
We're making all our viewers very nervous, even just talking about this, aren't we? I'm sure.
You should be, yeah, there's all kinds of reasons to be nervous.
Sure.
You know, even if we take out the salacious nature of this, you have a premium service that people paid for and that they expected at an elevated level of privacy, and yet they thought they were secure, and therefore they gave a bunch of personal information that was supposed to enhance the product that they were offering. I'm trying to make this as
very professional,
James, as possible. And yet, you know, it seems like the crazier the scenario, the more obvious the hack. And the lesson here is your data, no matter how much somebody says it's safe, no matter how much you pay, no matter whether you're a nation state or a, you know, personal entertainment site. I'm sure I'm going to get criticized for that one. But you know, it's not safe. Data just isn't safe online.
I will keep the personal entertainment. I take note, James.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
But it is a timely reminder that hacking doesn't just target, you know, banks and you know, those type of organizations or infrastructure or utilities. There is a great reward for, you know, cyber criminals in going after our new favorite term, personal entertainment, you know, experiences of any shape or form. And as you say, all data online is data that is at risk of being, you know, attacked and taken. So a timely reminder for us all.
Think about this, guys. Your I don't know, your insurance provider gets hit, right? And they steal some personal data. And the trouble, how do you sue them? How do you go after them for how you were damaged, right?
Yeah.
You get credit monitoring and that's all good. In this case, this information can be quite harmful to an individual, right? We're talking jobs and relationships and other things that you have the same problem though. I mean, how do you get any redress from the provider in this case because they released this and it destroyed your life? I mean, it's quite a thorny issue, but it really hits to the heart of a lot of the elements we see in other cases, which there's no way for the end user to receive any kind of compensation or any justice around this. And it really talks to, and maybe we can talk about this in a future top 10, which is if you collect a lot of data on people, it's gonna be sought after, and somebody's gonna want to make someone else pay for it.
Next up in our countdown, we're going to go to James. James, what's the story you have for us here?
Hey guys, let's talk about the most unfortunate telecom provider in the whole giant genre of telecom provider hacks in, say, 2025. Because I think that in and of itself, 2025 is the top 10 fail in telecom is the entire industry. But let's focus in on SK Telecom, right? This is South Korea's largest telecom provider. And unfortunately, they were hacked many years ago with the intruder basically taking advantage of lax security, no password on old systems, default credentials, outdated, unpatched security capabilities, and able to deeply burrow into this organization's servers and infrastructure so that they were able to steal data, they were able to replicate SIM cards, clone those cards. They had IMSI numbers, right? These are mobile subscriber numbers. That this is the elements of the telecom system, especially the mobile telecom system, that you think create a security blanket. I don't know if you're the same way I know myself, maybe a few years back, maybe not so much anymore, but you used to think, well, that phone's relatively secure. Nobody can break into that. Nobody sees that network because it's just so sophisticated and crazy. And obviously the telecom companies, because they're charging me so much for that service, there must be a lot of security around that. Well, in this case, right, I mean, SK had to replace those SIMs. They had a 90% drop in operating profits. Huge fail on their part over a number of years. They really let their subscribers down. So as far as scale and as far as not taking regular, obvious, proactive measures, these guys in specifics, as well as the telecom industry in general, I call them out for a top 10 epic fail. Guys, what do you think?
Yeah, 100%, James. And in my personal opinion, based on the experiences we got from the last 3-4 years, it seems that the telco market is, let's say, built with giants that have clay feet, which means that, in generically speaking, they are huge, they are important, they regulate a lot of our daily life, even because typically the most obvious way to authenticate ourselves on a new service is to leverage on our phone, as you anticipated, right? And typically the phone is considered way more secure than computer. But today, this paradigm should change, and surely the paradigm should change from two different angles. One is from the users. the user should be aware that potentially SIM cloning or even breach at the provider level can happen. From the other perspective, ISPs surely need to understand better that the security cannot be only on paper. The case of the South Korea is exactly that, is security on paper with no sufficient and adequate set of procedures to investigate, and that resulted in attackers entrenched, and attackers stayed there for long, and were basically able to exfiltrate almost everything to the point that the provider was almost bring to the ground, and they start scratching and rebuilding everything. So again, it doesn't happen just once this year. It happens in a number of cases. This is surely the biggest, but is a way to remember that our paradigm regarding the ISP security surely need to change. And today, with the advantage of advancement and evolution of the AI and the way to assess code and find 0 day, even more importantly, we need to change this paradigm.
Absolutely, and thanks very much for sharing that one. So we're counting down from 10 to 4, our epic fails of the last 18 months, but I feel now it's time for a break. And so we need to freshen up a little and rehydrate. And Stefano, you have a story to help us with that.
Yeah, ready to rehydrate with a little beer.
So, Stefano, do you want to share what happened to a major drinks company recently?
For sure, Gordon, for sure. Well, I want to synthesize the concept is only in cybersecurity do you get a single piece of ransomware that can cause a nationwide beer shortage. That happened in September in 2025 when Killing ransomware was distributed and basically slammed Asahi Group Holding. Well, 1 minute Asahi Digital Logistics are humming along, the next Killing affiliate flips a few bits in the Japan biggest brewer, and he is back to pen and paper ordering on mystery stocks level and explaining to regulators how 25 gigabytes of files and over 100,000 customers' records were walkabout. Guys, again, is a typical example of focusing on, let's say, our traditional job, in the case of Asahi, produce beer, distribute beer, but leaving open the logical doors. And when faced with the Galaxy Brain ransomware gang, the answer is apparently not 42, but please fax your order and our backup work before taps run dry. That's the message.
Wow. It's only coffee in here, right?
No beer.
But makes me want, you need a drink to handle that. I mean, it's not so much, I mean, it is, there's a lot of beer was not produced and or consumed, and that gets our attention. That certainly raises attention. But this is a great IT, OT, manufacturing down, ransomware, all of the things that make this an epic fail are aligned and contained within this breach. Just the fact that the ransomware gang was able to impact this company so greatly, right? So in that case, you're going to pay either way. You're going to pay if you pay the ransom, or you're going to pay if your systems are down. Companies need to do something else. I guess this is a little obvious, but organizations need to have a plan and a capability. Why, are they taking these losses and dealing with these issues when there are ways to mitigate these situations? And maybe a future OT episode, guys. What do you think about that?
For sure. And I think at the end that aside guys need to do their homework better in the cybersecurity before taking a break and drinking a beer. That is my message.
Yes, as concerned consumers, we really hope that that every organization that provides such an important service to society has the most robust defenses in place. So thank you for sharing that one.
As anticipated, this is also personal entertainment by the end. James, what do you think?
I think those items can be related if you want, and one element of personal entertainment may help with another.
Truly.
I mean, okay.
Yes, in the same way we're asking cyber security professionals to act responsibly, we should also encourage all our viewers to consume in a responsible manner as well.
For sure.
Thank you for that. Okay, so we're getting further down our countdown, and now we're going to include an epic fail that we featured back in episode 3, which scored a 10 from us because it highlighted some really interesting issues, and we wanted to come back and briefly mention it as part of our countdown. So James, remind us of this story.
You know, this is the tale of Kim Wolf. You know, not Airwolf for you, for folks who know what that is. But this is an attack on your personal infrastructure, you know, Wi-Fi routers, streaming devices, Android devices. The cheaper, the more vulnerable. That free device you got with the service, that router you bought when you were in college kind of thing, and you've been carrying it around with you forever. These devices have vulnerabilities that allow an attacker, in this case Kim Wolf, or the Kim Wolf botnet, to create and attack infrastructure that they can use to attack other organizations, to create denial of service, use as infrastructure and jumping off points into attacks. This is you being part of the problem, and you, us, we can do something about the problem just by going out and getting a new router, getting new gear, making sure that gear is updated, you know, thinking, you know, every month, you know, going in there and making sure your software is up to date. You can become part of the solution here. And that's what that whole episode was about. It was a major fail on a lot of organizations and us as individuals. And the great news is we can all do something about it.
On this, I do not comment much. We already said on the episode, but at the end of the day, is again, always connected with the perception of the security that can be wrong if you do not do your homeworks properly. And that is exactly what this was about.
So we're getting closer to our top 3, but before then, Stefano, you have a recent story that you would like to share with us for our next epic fail.
Yeah, it was connected with a firewall, VPN firewall, and a ransomware gang, which is Akira in this case. In August 2025, basically last summer, we saw a very active campaign from Akira that was hitting very significant and very different companies around the globe. And from that perspective, we were not able to pinpoint immediately what was going on, other than we were all suspecting, and this was common to the whole cybersecurity research, that a new zero-day was available for at least for the cyber criminals. But we concluded a month later that there was no zero-day at all. The question was simple. The previous year, the SonicWall firewalls went breached by actors, and with an active zero-day that was the CVE 2024-4766. And that flaw was solved by a patch. The vendor released the patch, and all of the customers were pushed to implement this patch, which was absolutely important to do. But unfortunately, this patch that was moving the firewall's VPN systems from generation 6 to generation 7 of the software, unfortunately, reset to default all the basic credentials within the firewall for the VPN accesses. So basically, it regenerates a user for the VPNs that were local user for the VPNs that were basically having the full passwords. Akira and Akira affiliates found that, and with all of our big surprise about that, they went into and basically do the job of, let's say, stealing data and the distributing malware, distributing ransomware very effectively. And, guys from SonicWall, please, next time you release a patch, please verify that within the patch, the local accounts are at least reset, alerting the customers, because otherwise we will incur in another apparently 0-day situation that was potentially addressable with a simple change into the initial patch code. Thank you.
Public service announcement there. Hearing you talk about that, Stefano, just I think about this. There's a mindset with highly technical infrastructure and service providers, and it can extend to other industries. This whole our thing is so complicated, nobody understands it, nobody knows, nobody's looking, and therefore I can leave a default password, or I don't have to think about something specific related to security because no one will ever see it. And my warning is, that's right, no one will ever see it, but AI is probably going to find it fast. And that is the era we are coming into, where these type of issues are epic fails. They're top 10 right now, but the obscurity still prevents them from becoming maybe overwhelming. I don't know that that use case will continue forever. I think the nature of new systems and new capabilities finding vulnerabilities will make that a bigger issue, even bigger issue in the future.
Well, to conclude, in my personal opinion, we already have so many problems that is really kind of like say pushing to the next level. If any vendor add on top of the real problems that we already have, situations like this one, because this is obviously something that we can easily avoid by just reviewing the code before releasing it for our customers. So again, I am not, let's say, pushing SonicWall to the wall, because it's typically something that happened in the past, even for other larger vendors. But it's really important to avoid similar errors, because these errors go on top of the vast quantity of 0-day and situation that we already are called to handle daily. So this one, please, next time, verify before release. Thank you.
And so we've covered a range of different topics, different industries, different parts of the world, different forms of personal entertainment, as we discovered.
Yes.
But do you feel that there are any sort of themes or kind of patterns in these particular epic fails that are worth kind of sort of reflecting on before we move on to our sort of podium and we talk about the top 3 epic fails of the last 18 months? What things would you like to highlight or comment on the various different stories we've covered in this part?
Well, carelessness is surely one aspect. For the Cisco representative, for the Asahi beer, for the SonicWall release of the source code of the patch code. So all of that was basically lacking the most elementary set of, let's say, actions that should be watched before carrying out any additional step. And this surely is the most common aspect. In some other cases, obviously, when we speak about Salesforce and stuff like that, these are mostly supply chain attack, like even the Pornhub. They were supply chain attacks, so it's a bit different. Surely epic fails of big recons, but from the other perspective, regarding these aspects, this is something that potentially can happen even if you apply a certain degree of protection. But for the others, when somebody called you and tried to social engineer you, asking for your credentials, guys, come on, this is coming from basically the 90s of the old century. So it's time now to avoid such similar data breaches, okay, and account impersonation. Other than, again, if I release a patch, I surely need to avoid to reset credentials in the patch.
Do not patch your way into a new vulnerability. That would, I think that's a great one, Stefano. I think I would call out your data is not safe online. When you take your data and give it to someone else, no matter how much they say it's safe, you are taking a risk. And you need to calculate that in. You need to imagine that this is going to go away, go to somebody else is going to use it, and you realistically don't have a lot of legal recourse. You know, if it gets stolen, you're probably not going to get compensated for whatever damage happens to you, and those damages can be quite severe in some of the cases we talked about, depending on what it is you're relaying, what personal information you're providing. And you can use that in the kind of more personal, more salacious case that we talked about in the personal entertainment Pornhub kind of example, or in something as, you know, mundane as your call log, your call history, or both can end up getting you in the same hot water if you think about it, I guess, a little more. So there's that. And then the last thing I'll kind of end with here, as far as kind of a linkage across these, is the more you collect data and analyze data and give that data to a third party, the greater you open up risks. So for governments and organizations that think about, well, it would be great if I knew how my users or why my citizens did something that's interesting on one aspect, but there is a massive risk that you are creating, that you are generating, and you need to associate the appropriate controls and responsibilities with that before you take on I could collect this great data and that's going to help me do something, maybe it'll help my consumers.
Gordon, do you have any concern about personal entertainment or something?
I think it's probably wise if I don't answer that question, but certainly there's a lot for us to think about and a lot of actions we can take, both as cyber professionals and as personal consumers. But thank you, gentlemen. That brings us to the end of this part of the countdown. In the next episode, we will be looking at our top 3 epic fails of the last 18 months and awarding our winner. But for now, it's a huge thanks for Stefano and James for joining me, and thanks you for tuning in. This has been Hat Talks from NetWitness Incident Response, and we'll see you next time. So it's goodbye from me, Gordon, in Glasgow, and Stefano.
Thank you, and I need to rush to change my premium account on one of the sites. So thank you.
For your beer order and James in Florida.
Take care. Stay safe out there, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
You have been watching Hack Talks.